Welcome to my new toy. I got rid of that M56. I wanted something more dependable, so now I got a 2018 Lexus GS 350 F Sport, and I was pretty much done with this project, maybe a few steps away, but I realized there's probably no videos on this, and hopefully this will help people some trouble, because it really was trouble for me. This is for those guys that want to cut open their airbox to emulate the F Sport box. Obviously I have an F Sport, but it doesn't come with the F Sport kit. What you're looking at now is pretty much everything you'll see when you look for Aftermarket Air Box for the GS 350. Once I got this, it did not fit in. This thing is not plug and play, so if you're going to do this, it's going to take a little bit of work, not the end of the world, and maybe some luck. Once I got this, I noticed the details why it doesn't work out of the box or plug and play, and I got online to buy another one, and they're pretty much the same thing. Maybe I'll point out some details on this, and maybe once you get online, if you're looking to, instead of cutting up your air box, you know, they're expensive, you're looking to just do something cheap for fun, you know, the hole. There's some ribs on the inside of the lid that people are cutting with snips. Also, there's a charcoal air filter. Let's see where we got that. For God knows why there's a charcoal air filter on top of this thing. All it is restriction. People say EPA or whatever, but I don't see how charcoal filter going into a combustion chamber is going to make a lick of difference. So I wanted to remove this, but again, I do not want to I don't want to destroy my factory airbox. So bought a cheapie. Let me put that down. Bought a cheapie, hoping I could cut it up and do whatever, and it does not work. Let me point out some things. First of all, the springs on this are, I wouldn't even say they're springs. It's bent metal. They don't retain their shape. These little fingers that hold on, they fall off right away. I'm trying not to touch anything because I'll lose them. I've gone through the trouble even crimping them with some pliers, you can see, but they still fall off. So as long as you put them all the way back down, they shouldn't put them all the way down. They shouldn't back off. This guy, maybe I can capture on video. This guy had to actually bend a little bit more because this little loopy thingy does not clasp on there. So that's one thing. These springs suck. Second, these things look pretty identical to each other, but they are not compatible. So if you're one of those people that somehow one of these parts broke, I wish I could show you. If you're thinking one of these parts broke, you can buy one of these cheap aftermarket air boxes, and they go together. They're not compatible. I tried different combinations, you know, top with the bottom, bottom with the top, whatever. It just does not work. Let me show you this. Okay, so it's in the springs. Just there's not enough material. On the aftermarket, there's actually extra plastic. Let me see if I can get that. There's actually, let me see if I can zoom in with the light. There's a little lip of plastic here. I don't know why you do that. It's really flimsy. I don't know how long it's going to last. I think hopefully once I get this all in, I will be changing or cleaning this reusable oil filter. God knows, maybe every other oil change, maybe even less than that. But this little plastic, it's flimsy. It's going to break. Since we're here, it's too late now, but I'll have some photos. This does not fit. Your mass airflow sensor does not fit right. I'll have some pictures. I have to do some JB weld just to give it a little bit of a perch, something to rest on, but you can see how, let me see if I can turn this. So, focus. There you go. Almost. It just does, it's not flat, or it's flat. The mass airflow sensor fits on the perch, but it just, the screw hole is at a bad angle. I'm not too worried about that breaking. Is that a rip? No. This guy was really bad. You can see how the screw's a little crooked. That's JB Weld, and I'll put a picture on the screen to show exactly why I did, not exactly why, but why I did that. Just give it some meat and potatoes. The hole that this goes into needed to be deflashed, and I had to sand it, and I lucked out that even though I sanded it, it does seat the O-ring. I don't get any check engine lights. The inside, it's, compared to the OEM one, it's It's pretty centered. I wouldn't say it's 100% accurate or dead center, but it's good enough. Like I said, I don't get chunky engine lights. I don't notice anything with the engine. Beauty about it, no charcoal filter and no ribs that people have to cut. You can see all along this air channel there was flashing. I had to remove that. I might, let's see. Yeah, I might leave that as. The more sanding, the more fuzzies you get. But I got a deburring tool. You can see where I sanded that. There are some flashing or some molding marks that the OEM one doesn't have, these little circles. I don't expect them to do any harm because they, let's see, they meet on this, and I think the sealing edge is more along here rather than a flat. So that's this guy. Like I said, I had to deflash, sand, come up with a method to hold that mass airflow sensor in. This guy, these little circles here, they're not too bad, but I did trim them up a little bit. For whatever reason, the OEM box, like I said, this whole thing, it looks like it went through the factory so quick that they didn't do any deflashing, any QA checks. These all had flashing in them. I had to clean those out, but these drain holes or whatever they are, kind of had to deflash those. Down on the bottom, there's another drain hole. I had to deflash that. All on this intake tube, I had to deflash that. There's still some on there, but not enough to worry about. But the shape is pretty much there. Let's see, anything to point out? What else? The mounting holes, they work fine. It's a little flimsy, but I really don't know how long this plastic will last. But I will always have my OEM one to back up on or to put back on. Oh, there's also there's a mount here where this is the aftermarket one. This is where the harnesses, these guys down here, plug into. That needed to be deflashed. This had to be deflashed. And there's another one that's a hole here for this little guy to go. He had to be deflashed. So, like I said, it is going to take some work. The biggest problem is this guy. And I don't feel like taking it apart because, like I said, I'm not getting any check engine lights. I'm not going to mess with it. And, oh, the hole in this thing definitely need to be deflashed. I think the last final step I need to do, JB Weld looks a little ghetto. Let's see. It's not too off color, but I do have paint marker. I'm wondering. And then as I paint this, the JB Weld, what I did is I greased up the mass airflow sensor and I greased up the screw, kind of put this together, and then I jammed a bunch of JB Weld in there, and the grease will help the screw come out. Kept it from sticking to the mass airflow sensor. And then after it cured, I took it off. Then I sounded this a little more flush, and to give it a little bit more so it will compress onto the mass airflow sensor. So my paint job isn't too bad. Not my proudest moment, but it'll do. Again, I was just trying to point out that this is not plug and play, but you can make it work. I did. I looked at every single thing that I could for, pretty much aftermarket. And they're, just by the picture alone, they're all the same. They all have the same perches here. Once you see it, you'll know what you're looking for. And like I said, it just all, and I thought maybe there's a chance I got the wrong part number, and God, this thing was so good, I thought at first maybe it was actually a copy from Toyota, but it is not. But this part number is the same part number on my OEM factory box. So I don't know where they went wrong. My best guess is that once they made a mold, they made thousands of these a long time ago, and now people are trying to sell them. Again, you screw up the mold, they're all going to come out kind of weird, whatever went on in these perches. Another thing, if you're looking for one of these boxes and you think, well, maybe I luck out. Once you see this box, once you see this god-awful unmarked box with a blue stripe, you know you got this shitty one. I only paid $59. I contacted the owner, said it doesn't work. He made me a deal, either cut it up and refund, and he'll give me a full refund, or give me half of it if I try to sell it or something. I said, hey, I'll give it a try. I'll make it work. If I get chunk engine lights, I understand it's not his fault, it's my fault. But believe it or not, it came in this bag, a little bit of bubble wrap, and then styrofoam. These are on the parts. as protection for the sharp points. And this styrofoam, these are the actually styrofoam. They were just jammed in wherever they could fix it. And this thing was sealed. It doesn't look like it had been reopened. So this is the kind of quality you're getting. I paid $59, which is the cheapest I could find, but I've seen them up to like 100 and something. I guarantee you they're the same. So buyer beware. You're going to get a piece of shit if you buy it, but you can make it work like I did. And I think I mentioned the other thing I wanted to do is like what a lot of people are doing, mostly for sound, but the F-Sport intake does it, so maybe it has some kind of effect. The actual F-Sport intake actually has two of these, I can't point it out, it has two of these lobes, one on side and one on this side, and a hole. I guess hopefully these curves kind of help air get in here, but you know, you get what you get. Anything to point out? But yep, I'm going with the hole like everybody else. I try to be all clean about it, and I fucked up and it looks like shit, but here I am. I know it doesn't add any performance, or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I was going to go a step a little bit different. I wanted to add a velocity stack to this. You know, it's not going to do anything, but I like to pretend it will. But lucky for me, I had a leftover exhaust pipe, and this has just been sitting around, so this is going to be my velocity stack. I just need to do one more thing, get that powder coated, and get that in. And so let's get this powder coated. Well, because I can, not because I have to. No one's going to see this, but I can, and I know. All right. And there she is. A cute little velocity stack. Pretty ghetto, but it works. And to hold it in, I actually have a clamp that I just happened to find probably off my Nissan, but put it in there, rotated the little clamps out of the way so it doesn't hit the filter. The way I did it, still pretty loose. Let's see, I can rotate them just a little bit out of the way. While I'm there, I know a lot of benchtop mechanics are so concerned, oh, you're going to be sucking hot air in. Well, Lexus did it, so it shouldn't be that big of a problem. And if you look what's behind here is big open cavity, then a headlight somewhere about here. So this fits on there. That might direct me a little bit closer into where I should hopefully get cooler air rather than engine bay air. What's up with that fly? Anyway, this fits on there. I don't think I could clamp it on there. There's not much of a clamping area, but I also have this little feller, some leftover parts from the old M56. I might see what I can cut to maybe get that a little bit more inside that, behind the headlight area, but I won't have that on video, but let's see what I end up with. But time to, oh, by the way, like I said, these little things I was putting on this thing fell off from over here. Like I said, these things are annoying. They fall off all the time. Nothing you can do about it. You can bend those little things and they bend right back. This is far from spring material. It's just bent steel, or bent steel, I guess. I don't know. But again, velocity stack, cut hole, cheapy. It works. If do it at your own risk. Let's get it in the car. Well, she's in. I was actually able to get that long silicone tube. I don't know if you can see, but it's tucked back in there, kind of angled down. Does that make sense? Down and out. So that's where all the naysayers talking about hot air intake or blah blah blah. Other thing I needed to point out, back to these little clamps, really cheap. When you open and close them, you can pull back on them, but you definitely can't push on them. You can't, like I said, I fucked with these so much times. You got to actually pull up and over, up and over. And this one I had to bend to match. I don't know if you can see that. There's like a, and the OEM one's like that too. The plastic is at an angle, so I had to bend this to match that angle. Otherwise, it wouldn't stay, and this box would not stay down. We'll see how long this lasts. I don't think I'll be reporting back. Maybe I'll do in the comments if it breaks, but plastic's pretty cheap. You can feel it. It may not last. I'm going to run it until it breaks, and then I'll put the old one back in. This will help some power. A buddy of mine broke records in his GS or his IS 350 by replacing this with a Joe Z pipe, but I got a bunch of tubing, and maybe one day I'll replace this. I do have enough scrap pieces laying around and silicone couplers, but for now I'm leaving it as it is, and that's it. Like I said, I'm not going to have any sound clips because it won't translate well on my phone, nor will it, what do you call it? And you all heard it. You guys, the guys that are going to cut holes in their box already know what it's going to do, and they're going to do it anyway. I do have like a little built-in webcam on the car. if I can download some videos with that sound, because I did do a couple runs with just the velocity stack in there without the tube, but I'll probably drive it to work tomorrow, and if I can get a video before I edit this, I'll put it in. But if not, there you go. Generic box. You can make it work if you really, really want to. Oh, also, I use some rubberized super glue as some staking compound. It's not very evident, but just in case. Those things, the way they make contacts, they may back out, but that plastic was new and they kind of stuck in there. I should have used Loctite, but this works. I don't get any check engine lights, so now I'm not going to tamper with it. Just the way the O-ring sits in there, and it's not perfect. All right, thanks for watching.